did I say it like that? Hello and welcome to another reading vlog.
I should have told you that I loved you one more time.
Today's March 4th and I'm going to attempt to have this vlog wrapped up in 10 days. So by March 14th, this vlog will be finished filming. You'll see it after that, but I don't care about that. So, I'm really excited about the theme for this themed reading vlog. The only thing is, I think it's kind of dumb, but I thought of it and now then I couldn't get it out of my head, so I decided I had to do it. So I searched for books that would fit it, and you already know what it is because you've seen the title. But for this week to 10-day reading vlog, I'm going to be reading my name in books. I originally thought I was going to read a book that started with the letter of each of my name, or a book that first had the first letter of the title be one of the letters in my name, like a book that started with M and then a book that started with A, etc. You get it. But instead I decided to read books that had sections of my name until my name was like eventually spelled out. Without further ado, I'm going to tell you my TBR for this secret TBR, which you already know probably if you've seen my March TBR, because it's all books from that. First, I'm going to be reading Packing for Mars by Mary Roach. I don't really know exactly what it covers, but it's about like space and astronauts. And two things I love, space and astronauts. Two things I'm scared of, space and space. So, drum roll please. We have Lent by Joe Walton. This I don't know a ton of what it's about, but it's set partially in Renaissance Italy in Florence. And Florence? I don't know why I said it like that. And partially in hell. And it's about this monk who can see demons. N.K. Jemisin has one of the blurbs on the back, which leads me to believe that this is going to be way more fantasy leaning than anything else. Then I have The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. Spoiler alert, I have this as an audiobook, so I've already started listening to it. I've listened to about an hour. And I'm liking it so far. It's like a gothic retelling. Oh, obviously Frankenstein is gothic, but it's like a retelling of Frankenstein from the perspective of Elizabeth Frankenstein, who is Victor Frankenstein's. She was adopted into his family as a kid, but I can't tell if they have like a romantic relationship just yet. I don't really know what the extent of their relationship is, but it seems pretty like all-consuming. Where we are in this story is Elizabeth is traveling with Justine, who is the governess of the Frankenstein family, and she's only a couple years older than Elizabeth, but they are traveling together to the town where Victor Frankenstein is in university, and something's gone wrong. We don't know what it is yet, but they're going there to solve some sort of problem, and only Elizabeth knows that there's a problem. I'm interested to see where this goes. It has very mixed reviews. And then the fourth book that I'm planning on reading for this project, I actually don't have a physical copy of because my library didn't have a physical copy, but I am getting it as an ebook from my library, and it's Head Over Heels by Hannah Orenstein, which is like a contemporary romance about a former gymnast. And I think it's supposed to be like a hate to love with the gymnastics coach in her hometown or something. That obviously fits because my last name is Hedrick, so Head. And I tried to find books by people whose names, or I tried to find books with Hedrick in the title, which I didn't think was going to happen, or by people whose last name was Hedrick. And the only books I could find were like Civil War or World War I and World War II, like history books, which, I mean, like, go whoever is writing those, good for you, but I'm not reading that. Head Over Heels, and then Rick, where is it? Rick. Riordan. So, Head, Rick. That's my idea. But this is the first book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series, The Lightning Thief. I have read this. I mentioned this before. This is a reread. This will be the first reread I've ever done on my channel, which is pretty exciting. I also found an audiobook for this, so I'll probably just listen to it since it is a reread. But I am really excited to dive back into this. And like I mentioned in my March TBR, I never finished this series. I can't remember if I read the fourth book or not, but I definitely didn't read the fifth book. So I'm excited to get to those books. So those are the 5 books that I'm planning on reading. The goal was to finish them in order, just so that way I would actually be like reading my name. But I honestly think I'll probably finish The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. I might finish it before the other 2. However, I listen to audiobooks the most when I'm driving places or like walking to my classes on campus. And I only have classes on campus 3 days a week, and it's Monday through Wednesday. And guess what? It's Thursday, which means that I'll only be listening to that on my dog walks, which means that I'll only be listening to it in 10 to 15, well, I guess 15 to 20 minute spurts, which will be 30 minutes to 40 minutes of audiobook. So if that makes sense. Anyways, I just want to pop in here, introduce this vlog. My intros are always so long, but If you enjoyed this video while you're watching it, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content from me. Hello, it's time to update the vlog, I guess. I just wanted to pop in and say that I'm still reading the same things that I was reading before, but I just read something kind of funny in Packing for Mars. Let me pull it down from the stack. I also just filmed a video, which is why things are crazy. I just filmed my physical TBR, so I'll link it somewhere in case you haven't seen it. But it's starting off, and this is about astronauts and astronaut training. And right now, Mary Roach has gone to Japan to figure out how they sort of figure out who their astronauts are going to be and how they sort of do the like interview process. It's really intense. And she's been to Russia where they're doing a similar thing. It's so interesting because part of the interview, they talk about how like they tell a candidate they're gonna call them at a later date, and they'll like call them at like 2 in the morning to see like, hey, can you come in for like this round of tests today? We lost your last stuff. And the reaction of the candidate is part of the interview process, I guess, because they're trying to find people who are low maintenance, easy to please, or willing to please. They just want to do this no matter what, which I thought was really interesting because I don't have the temperament for that, frankly. If you call me at 2 in the morning for a job, I don't want the job. But there's this part in here, and it's a term that psychologists, or it's a like phenomena that psychologists have termed irrational antagonism. And it's what happens to people who get stuck in close quarters for longer than about 6 weeks. And I thought that was really interesting because I remember, I think it was in South Korea. It might have been somewhere in China, but somewhere in East Asia where they had really strict lockdown protocols. They had like 8 weeks of quarantine where it was like super strict and you had to stay in your house or apartment or whatever. And when that was lifted, there were like, I can't remember the exact numbers, but there were a bunch more divorces filed than was typical of the time, or was like a typical amount. I want to say it was like 4 or 5 times as many. And so I wonder if it's because of that same thing. Like when you're stuck with someone for so long, you start to just, everything they do bothers you. I'm liking this so much more than I liked Spook by Mary Roach, which is a good sign. Because I give that 3 stars. I didn't think that was a bad book. It just like wasn't what I expected, and this is sort of what I'm expecting. Again, I'm not very far into it at all, so that could change. But I'm also still reading The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein, and I still don't know what to think about that book. It's like a YA retelling of Frankenstein from Elizabeth Frankenstein's point of view, and she is the adopted sister of Victor. But it sounds like there's some sort of like love triangle subplot that has happened already before we're introduced into the story, and that part is told, but it's like there's parts that are told in flashback, so we're not getting the full picture. But I'm really intrigued to see what's going to happen. I'm hoping that I'll still get the full benefit of the story, even though I've never read Frankenstein. I've seen the movies, or I've seen Young Frankenstein. I don't even know if I've seen the like actual Frankenstein movie. Victor is in university, and they can't find him. So he hasn't reached out to his family in like 18 months. Elizabeth and her, the nurse of the family the Frankenstein family that she's been living with since she was a child, Justine, are alone in Ingolstadt, the city, but they are trying to find Victor. I will let you know when I have more updates.
You dear, sweet delectable you, here you got me tingling like we're on a Ferris wheel ride. You, ooh, sweet delectable you, who came sweeping in just like you knew we were meant to unite. Is this really happening, or am I swirling through a dream? I can't believe it's happening, 'cause it's so good, it's surreal. When first, sweet delectable you burst into my life, I hit reverse, backing straight out the door. Disarmed, sweet delectable you.
Hello, I wanted to check in just briefly. It is now Monday, March 8th. And I'm still working on everything I was reading last time I talked to you. So I am on page 173 of The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. This is the audiobook that I'm listening to, and I am really enjoying it. I don't love the characters, to be honest, but I feel like the more you learn about them and the more that's revealed, the more I like sort of enjoy them or understand them better. I'm wondering if it was a mistake to read this without having read Frankenstein, because I've seen the movie Young Frankenstein multiple times throughout my life, but I don't really remember anything about it, and all I really know about Frankenstein is that he makes the monster. Like, I know what the monster looks like. Anyways, I'm still enjoying this. I don't know ultimately where it's gonna land. I feel like it's definitely not gonna be below a 3, but I also can't see it being above like a 3.5 or a 4, maybe if it's got a really good ending. It's good, but I don't know that I love it, if that makes sense. For Packing for Mars, I'm still really loving this one. This honestly might be a 5-star for me, and I wish this was my first Mary Roach, because I think I've already mentioned I read Spook by her and didn't really enjoy it. I mean, I liked it, I thought it was fine, but it was nothing to like write home about for me, and parts of it really rubbed me the wrong way, but I'm really loving this. And what I'm thinking is so interesting about this is that she covers topics about space travel and NASA and like things that go into that I would never even consider thinking about really. So like, she has a whole chapter on the experiments that NASA and the Navy, I think it was the Navy or the Air Force, I can't remember now. One branch did these experiments for NASA where they had people sit in a recliner in the same clothes for 2 weeks and not be able to bathe, not be able to change. That was anything, undergarments, whatever. And it's so gross, but they had to do that to see what it would be like for a 2-week mission for astronauts to never be able to leave their spacesuit. So I thought that was super interesting. So anyways, if you think that's interesting, then this is the book for you. I'm hoping to finish this tonight or tomorrow. I have about a little under 300 pages left of this, so I'm currently on page 87, and I would like to get to chapter 17 today, which is page 171, so a little under 100 pages. And I think I can do that. This is where I wanted to be on, well, I might have put that in there last night, so on Sunday. I did not read very much more after I put that in there, but this is good so far. It's kind of slow to start, and I can tell that the author's laying a lot of groundwork for what's to come, but I am excited to see what happens when Girolamo, I don't know how it's pronounced, I don't speak Italian. If you ever wonder about my pronunciation of anything, I probably have pronounced everything wrong in this vlog and everything wrong on my channel ever. I'm not loving it. I don't really know what's happening yet. So Girolamo is a Dominican monk or priest, I guess. I don't know the difference between monks and priests. Again, I'm not Catholic, I don't really know. But he is actually able to see demons on Earth. And he is getting prophecies from God that he's sort of dispelling to his congregation. And so he prophesized this war that France was going to come to Italy and overtake parts of Italy, but the French were going to be unable to overtake Florence, which is where he lives. I don't know. I know the back of this says that it takes place half in Renaissance Florence and half in hell. So I'm interested to see if Girolamo is going to actually get to descend into hell and go to hell. Because that's like why I picked the book up, if that makes sense. But these are still the 3 things that I'm reading. And to remind you, after I finish these 3 things, I also need to listen to all of Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. Is that what it's called? And I also need to read all of Head Over Heels. I think Head Over Heels will be a really quick read because it's a romance. And again, like I mentioned, I think I should be able to finish this pretty quickly. So potentially this will carry on through the weekend because I don't know how much of it I'm going to be able to get done. It's quick once I get into it, but every time I stop to pick it up, it takes me a while to get back into the story, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's what's up with me. I'm going to read now, and this has been a 10-minute update.
Right out the door. Disarmed, sweet, delectable, you charmed your way around my fear and alarm. So I gave it a whirl. Is this really happening, or am I swirling through a dream? I can't believe
week. And I also have coffee because I couldn't decide which liquid breakfast to consume. This is my second cup of coffee. I always have coffee first thing in the morning. My dog just started whining because I'm talking, but not to him. So I wanted to check in and let you know that I finished Pine for Mars. And I ended up giving this 5 out of 5 stars. I really loved this book. It was hilarious. I laughed out loud. It made me like tear up at one part. Yes, highly recommend this. So interesting. And I love that she covered topics. I mentioned this a little bit already, but I love that she covered topics like how they prepare astronauts for not being able to bathe for 2 weeks. Highly recommend if you're at all interested in like space or space travel. And what I love about this book is also what I love about like hard science fiction. I love the questioning nature that she had. So she was asking me if certain things would be possible. And I feel like my kind of science fiction is authors who understand a lot about science, or even films like Interstellar, but they understand that these things could theoretically be possible, and then they run you through kind of a theoretical rundown of what might be possible. I don't remember where I was going with that, but yes, I loved this. Such a good start to this vlog. And I did get a little farther in this book. I got to page 139, which means I have like 250 pages left. The other thing I was gonna say, I just tried to reserve the audiobook for The Lightning Thief, and I'm number 2 in line on 6 copies, which means I should be able to get one at some point, but all 6 of the copies that my library has are checked out, which sucks. So I don't even know why waitlists are a thing with like audio files and like digital files. If you do know why, please let me know. But yeah, so I'm still listening to The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. I was able to get Middlemarch. I don't know if I even mentioned this. So Kiera Foster is doing a read-along for Middlemarch by George Eliot. Middlemarch is a like 1,000-page classic by George Eliot. If you'll recall, I tried to read a George Eliot book in February, and I got like 10 pages in and then gave up. I found the audiobook for Middlemarch, so I'm hoping that'll help me get through it. It's free on Kindle Unlimited, so I have it on my Kindle. That is like a 6-week read-along, but it starts this week, and I forgot about it until I got a notification from the Discord of people being like, I read the first chapter or whatever, and I was like, crap, I have to get that. But it initially said it was going to be 2 weeks before the audiobook was available, so I thought I would just like put it off and then catch up with the audiobook when it was available to me, which is a bad plan. But since I have the audiobook, I'll be able to listen to that while I drive to Oklahoma, so I'm excited about that. Anyways, I'm going to do some work, finish my coffee, finish my smoothie, and I'll check in with you when I've read more. Hello, it's Wednesday. I'm doing these updates sort of every day now, which is pretty good, but I just wanted to check in and let you know that I finished The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. I gave this 3 stars. There's nothing wrong with this book. I felt like the pacing was kind of off. It felt really rushed, almost like the author wanted to get where she was going, and had so many ideas for what she wanted to say, but just like rushed getting there, if that makes sense. Also, this book is really short. It's under 300 pages, and there's a lot of travel from place to place, which I felt like took up some of the space that I felt could have been better used to further the plot along, rather than just like physically moving the characters, if that makes any sense. I did really love the author's note in this. So in the author's note, Kirsten White talks about how the reason she wanted to read this was because she loves Frankenstein, and this is a retelling of Frankenstein, but also because in the preface of her version of Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's husband writes and basically like kind of takes credit for allowing his wife to write, and apparently Mary Shelley throughout her life had stated that her husband gave her this idea, and her husband was this great force, and without him, Frankenstein wouldn't have existed, without really taking credit for the fact that it was her mind. And she was a teenager at the time that she wrote it. So Kirsten White just wanted to write Frankenstein from the perspective of a teenage girl to show that there's nothing more powerful or more terrifying than a teenage girl, which I love. I loved the author's note of this. I just felt like as a book, it didn't really tickle my fancy particularly. I'm still working on Lent by Joe Walton. I am on page 210. So the first half of this book, there's not really any fantastical elements except for that Girolamo can see demons. I'm not going to spoil sort of the twist that happens halfway through for you, but you sort of, halfway through something happens, and then you realize like what this book is actually about, but I feel like knowing that might be a spoiler. I don't know. I think I would have liked to know that, just because then I think I would have been less inclined to put this down so often in the beginning. It's, like I said, very slow to start, and it's almost like not a whole lot is happening. Like I said, it does get much better, and I'm enjoying it much more now. I just wish that first half had been maybe a quarter or a third rather than a full like half of the book, if that makes sense. I did start Head Over Heels by Hannah Orenstein, which I have on my Kindle. I started this last night. I'm like 130 pages in. I knew it would be quick to get through because or adult contemporary romance, whatever. The reason my just pile of shoes. Matt hates it when I film and the house is a mess because he says it makes us look like slobs. This is all me. I need to do laundry today. Also, the bed's not made, but the dogs are sleeping in it. And it was made, but I got in bed because I had a headache. And the dogs got in after me, so that's why the bed looks like that. Anyways, I'm now like defending myself. But I'm liking Head Over Heels so far. So it's about this girl who, her name's Avery, and when she was doing Olympic trials for the 2012 Olympics, she got hurt. I don't remember what her injury is. Like her leg, she had to get knee surgery, so something with her knee happened. But it sort of ruined her dreams of ever going to the Olympics and put her whole life kind of in turmoil. So she had to delay entry to college for this. And then she ended up going to, I think they say like Los Angeles State University. So some like college in LA. And she drops out because she flunks out of school. Because after not having gymnastics anymore, her life doesn't have a purpose. And then she meets this like pro football player. And this is all before the story picks up, by the way. None of this is spoilers. You find this out in the first, like, 3 pages of the book. But she had been dating this football player, and she lived with him, and then he decided that she didn't have enough ambition to be his girlfriend or his wife, and so they broke up, and she moved back home to Massachusetts because she doesn't have any money, because she's been working, like, part-time, and just living with this NFL player for however long. I think, like, 4 years. They have, like, a long relationship, so it's kind of sad, but also it sounds like she didn't really feel like it was going anywhere anyways. I don't know. But she gets back to Massachusetts and she gets a call from a boy that she had a crush on when she was a kid who used to do competitive gymnastics. Y'all, my stutter gets so bad when I'm like flustered like this. He didn't used to live in Massachusetts, but now he lives in Massachusetts and coaches at the gym that she trained in. And he went to the Olympics, by the way, the year that she did trials and got hurt. He was there too. He just ended up making it and went to the Olympics and won gold or something. And so he calls her because he hears she's back in the area and is like, hey, we have this girl who wants to do the Olympic trials for 2020, rest in peace 2020 Olympics, and she needs a coach. It's cute. I feel like that was a really long explanation of what happened. But obviously she gets together with him. I have a feeling this is going to sort of bring in, gosh, what was the coach, the like medical director or like a sports medicine guy at Michigan who got in trouble for like, what is the YouTube appropriate word for this? Like assaulting the young women in his care. I'm wondering if that's going to play a part of it. I have like an inkling that it might, but I don't know. But now we're just trying to train Hallie, this young 16-year-old girl who has ankle pain. That's why I'm thinking it might, because I know she has to go see this doctor for her ankle pain, and she seems like she doesn't want to go, and I can't tell if she doesn't want to go to the doctor because that makes her not be able to compete, or if she doesn't want to go to the doctor because she doesn't want to go to the doctor, you know? And then, last time we spoke, sorry this update is so long, every update I do is so long. The last time we spoke, I was saying that I was bummed because I had to be on hold. I was number 2 on hold for 6 copies of The Lightning Thief by Percy Jackson.
What are you? An idiot sandwich.
But as you can probably tell from the bookmark, I was able to start this. I forgot that my library uses 2 different apps for ebooks and audiobooks. One is Overdrive, which I think is also Libby. I have Overdrive. I don't really know what the difference is, but I've heard that they're the same thing. And then the other is Cloud Library. And my Overdrive has 6 copies available to it, but all of them were checked out. And then there's one person ahead of me in the waiting list. But Cloud Library has a copy of this as well, and it was available. So I am listening to this. I just started it today. I'm like 2 chapters in, and I love it. I knew I would. This is a reread for me, as I've mentioned. I want to reread this whole series and finally finish it because I never finished it the first time. So I'm really excited about that, which means I've finished 2 of the books for this project. And as I mentioned, I'm trying to leave town tomorrow afternoon after my class. So I need to get my oil changed today. I also think I'm going to get more bleach so I can do my hair again. But those are just like things I need to check off my list. But I really do think I can complete this. I'm planning on setting a timer here in a minute and trying to read. I now have like 160 something, 165 pages-ish. Oh my gosh. About 165 pages left of this. So my goal is to complete this today. And then tonight when I'm going to bed, I will read this. And however much I don't finish of this today, I will try to finish tomorrow before my class if I have time. Or I can bring this over the weekend because I'm probably going to bring a book anyways. And it might just be nice. I'm going to just bring my Kindle because I have Middlemarch on there as well, which I mentioned that I need to be reading. And I also have this nonfiction about legal writing called Point Made by Ross Guberman that I've been trying to read for like the past month. So I have that on here as well, and that way I don't have to bring a bunch of stuff, but I have a couple different options to see what floats my fancy, interesting. And then this I'm going to listen to on the drive out there because it's a 10-hour audiobook. I listen at 2 times speed. It'll take me about 5 hours to listen to, and it's about a 4.5-hour drive, so I'm pretty sure, I'm very confident actually, that I'll be able to listen to some more today when I take the dogs for their last walk, and then tomorrow when I take the dogs on their first 2 walks, and then in the car. So that's my plan. This has been a really long update as usual. I've been talking for 10 minutes. Hello, it's Thursday. I think I've been saying in this vlog that I was going to leave for Oklahoma today. I'm not leaving until tomorrow, so I don't know why I thought I was going to leave today, but I'm going to leave tomorrow morning. It just works better for me, and I don't know why I was trying to stress myself out into like reading everything and finishing today. I'm still reading those 3 books I was telling you about, Head Over Heels, The Lightning Thief, and Lent. I haven't finished any more of them. I think I'm like 60% of the way into Head Over Heels. Like I mentioned, that's a really quick, just like contemporary romance. Also, it did get a little darker, so it is exploring some like more serious themes. It's not all just light and fluffy, which is fine. I'm fine with it so far. It seems good. But yeah, I have to do some work today, so I'm sitting down here to do some work. Got my dogs, both of them, and yeah, that's really all I wanted to say.
I don't really know what you mean when you say I'm not what you need. 'Cause I've seen the look you give me, and it's a silent killer. I've been waiting for you all night, just face it. I'm gonna make you mine, I'll be your angel. You got it right, be my silent killer. Ooh.
Hello, I bought bleach, so I'm gonna do my hair. I just wanted to come on here and show you what it looked like before I did it. I'm not gonna show you while I do it, because I'm not a professional and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just, doing my best and doing it the way that I've always done it. But as you can see, I've got like darker brown bits that I missed the last time I did bleach. So I'm gonna be really careful this time, and obviously I'm gonna try to get all of my roots again. And my goal is to have all of my hair be as light as these sections up here. So that's what we're working with. And then maybe I'll tone it gray today as well. I haven't decided. Let me show you what I got. So I use Salon Care Volume 20 or 20 volume developer. I bought the big tub this time of the Quick Blue. This is just the bleach that I've always kind of gone with, and it works fine. I don't really know if one is better than another. That's just what I've always sort of used. And then I bought Wella Permanent Liquid Hair Color. It's an additive, so you're supposed to mix this in with toner, but she said that I can probably use this just on my hair because I'm trying to go gray/silver, and this is in the shade Cooling Violet. So I don't know if I'm going to use this today or if I'm just going to bleach today. I haven't decided, but we're just going to see how it goes. Matt's at work still. I'm going to try to do this so that it's ready when he gets home from work, and we'll see how it goes. I'll check in at the end of it. Hopefully I don't fry all my hair off. Hello. As you can see, my hair is kind of gray now. You might not really be able to tell. I don't know how this lighting is doing, but it's super rainy out, super gross. I'm about to drive to Oklahoma. My makeup looks crazy on camera right now. I promise it looks like semi-normal in real life. Something is up with this ring light. Hold on. But I did finish Lent. I can't remember if I updated you after I finished Lent. I don't think so, though, because I finished it when Matt was home, and I don't think I updated the vlog after he got home last night. I finished Lent. I didn't love this. I gave it 3 stars. This is better explored as, like, a character study of a Florentine monk. Girolamo something or other. He's the guy who did the Bonfire of Vanities, where in Florence, this monk convinced everyone that having art and, like, things that weren't about God was, like, a vanity and was bad. And so, like, a ton of really probably would be really important famous art got burned. And in this book, he is... I feel like I can't really describe what this book is about because I don't know how much of this book is a spoiler. So I'm going to put spoilers right now. When I'm no longer holding this book up, spoilers are over. How about that? So if you don't want to be spoiled, but if you don't care about reading this, then it doesn't really matter. Girolamo is in a time loop. So he's actually a demon. And you don't find this out till halfway through the book. But he gets killed as, like, a martyr on Earth. But he wakes up in hell because he's actually a demon in a human body. And he's been reliving the same life over and over again in an attempt to, like, free himself from it. I don't think I know enough about Renaissance history to really get the point of this book, which I think was part of the problem. Also, I was expecting... I usually like time loops, but this one felt really repetitive. And now I get why it was compared to Life After Life. Because Life After Life by Kate Atkinson... this is not a spoiler. It's about this girl, Ursula Todd, who dies and then is reborn. Who dies on the day she's born, and then she's reborn and gets to live her life over and over and over again until she lives the right life. So it's kind of like Groundhog's Day, except for it's your whole life, and she never remembers that she's being born over and over again. Girolamo remembers. After the first round that we read, he starts to remember that he's a demon, and he's trying to figure out a way to get demons to be able to go back to heaven and, like, reconcile the fallen angels. Which I think sounds really a lot more interesting than it actually was for me. That sounds like something I would really enjoy, but overall, I just felt like this book lacked a lot of the, like, supernatural or just, like, fantastical elements that I was really looking for when reading a sci-fi fantasy. It's definitely speculative fiction, but it read a lot more like historical fiction. I guess I could put the book down now because I'm no longer doing spoilers. Okay, so I'm still talking about Lent, but the spoilers are over. I just think, for me, it read a lot more as historical fiction rather than speculative fiction, and I wanted more of that fantastical element. Basically, the only, like, fantasy parts of this, if you even think this is fantasy, because I know some people actually believe in this kind of thing, there are real demons and real saints and real miracles that occur in this book. So... that's speculative fiction-ish, but it's not done in a way that's speculative. It's done in, like, a theological way, I guess. So I'm not sure if that counts for some people. You know, if that's your, like, religion, then it's probably not speculative. But maybe it's... I don't really know. I don't know how to describe it. But, yeah, I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. It got, like, a 5 out of 10 on Copile. I do think the characters felt like real people. I wish we got more time with some of the female characters. Because we get to know them in bits, but they are to me, they were some of the most interesting characters, and so it's just kind of a shame that because of the nature of Girolamo being a priest, he doesn't spend a lot of time with women. 3 stars. I also finished Head Over Heels last night, that gymnastics rom-com thing that I was reading. It got a little heavier than I thought it would because I read the blurb and it does mention that there's, like, a scandal that rocks the gymnastics world. It's basically, taking on the Larry Nassar? Is it just Nassar? I don't know. The sports medicine doctor for gymnasts at the University of Michigan, perhaps, who was accused of, like, multiple accounts of abuse and assault. This book, I felt like the romance was, like, front and center of the book, but it was the least interesting part. I didn't really care for either of the, like, main love interests. I think this is a theme for me in, like, in romance books. I didn't mind the female lead. I didn't think she was great as, like, a romance heroine. And the romance just, to me, there wasn't enough pining, I think, for me. And there wasn't enough, like, emotional connection to that. Also, the male character does something in the first half of the book that, like, to me would have been like game over, you know, forever. But the male character's name is Ryan and the female character's name is Avery, so we'll call them by their names. How about Ryan does something that I would consider like bad, and he does apologize for it later. And Avery's like, well, he more than made up for it, but I don't think he did. So for me, I didn't like him after that point, and I've mentioned this before. I don't typically like enemies to lovers, because I hold grudges. And so as soon as a character does something that wrongs another character, especially like if a side character does something that wrongs the main character, whose point of view we're reading from, I no longer like that character. They're dead to me. F them. Get them out of here. I'm over it. So that for me is always kind of hard in this kind of situation. This isn't hate to love. It's just Avery's childhood crush. And it turns out he had a crush on her when they were kids too. And now they work together and they're training this Olympic athlete. But the thing that this talks a lot about like mental health for elite gymnasts and how poor your mental health can be because Avery's a failed Olympian, and how like bad her mental health has been the last 7 years, and how she's still learning how to cope with things that her coaches have said to her and things that the sport just inherently does to young women. And so I thought that was really interesting. I also really liked her reconciliation of friendship with one of her former teammates who she's back in the area with, Jasmine. I liked their friendship element. I liked the element of her being a mentor to the young girl that she was able to coach. I thought all of that was very interesting and could have been the frontline story, but the author wanted to write a romance, I guess. So that's what she wrote instead. But I thought the romance was the least interesting part of this. Those are my updates. So I only have one book left to listen to or to read, and I am listening to it as an audiobook, and it is The Lightning Thief by Riordan. And I'm loving it. I know I'm going to give this 5 stars. It's a reread for me. I'm having so much fun rereading it. And I'm really glad I chose the audiobook route. I think I'm going to try to get the audiobook for Sea of Monsters and the 3rd book as well. I'm going to finish listening to it in the car today. So that's it for right now. I'll probably have a couple more. I'm hoping to have some more like B-roll clips because that would be fun. If not, I'll definitely have one more check-in where I talk about all of the books that I read this and give you my final thoughts on The Lightning Thief. Time to close out this vlog, so it's the next week. Sorry if my voice is kind of going out. I'm losing my voice, I guess. I don't really know what else to say. Murphy, please don't knock that cord over. I just wanted to check in and say that I finished The Lightning Thief. I'm gonna take my glasses off because they reflect weird, but I finished The Lightning Thief. 5 stars, as I expected. It's about a 9 out of 10 on Cowpile. I was so excited to be reading it, and as things were happening, I was remembering what had happened before and how much I used to love those books. So I read 5 books in the duration of this vlog over the span of 10 days, which is not too bad. That's about my like average. First book I finished was Packing for Mars by Mary Roach. This was also a 5-star book. I really, really, really loved this. And if you're interested in this kind of nonfiction, like I mentioned, I would highly recommend it. Then I finished The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. I gave this 3 stars. I thought it was good, and if you are in the mood for this kind of story and you don't mind a slower pace and like a YA take on a retelling, I think you could really like this. I think it definitely benefits from probably benefits from having read Frankenstein. As someone who has not read Frankenstein, I can't tell you, but I feel like you might get more out of it if you have. Then I finished Lent by Joe Walton. I gave this 3 stars as well. I thought this was really slow to start. It was an interesting concept, and I think if you are okay with like more of a character study and a character-driven story and less interested really in a big plot, and if you're not looking for a lot of fantasy. I went into this looking for a lot of fantastical elements, as Joe Walton is like known for fantasy. She's won a Hugo, a Nebula, and a Tiptree. I just hit myself in the head with this book. But this I would not say is super fantasy driven. It's much more like historical fiction, in my opinion, with just like a twinge of like maybe magical realism. So if that's your thing, then I think you could really like this. It just didn't fully work for me, but I did love the characters and I felt like I really knew them. And then I finished Head Over Heels, which is another book I gave 3 stars. I thought it was cute, but I didn't really love the romance, and as a romance book, I was kind of like let down by that aspect of it. And I wish that the author had focused more on things that she didn't focus on within the gymnastics world. But I did think it was a really interesting book, and I do, like, I could see it being like a light, easy read if that's what you're looking for. And then, like I mentioned, I finished The Lightning Thief, and I'm so glad that I read this. This was another 5 stars. So we had a very mediocre reading experience sandwiched by 2 fantastic reads, which is really exciting. So I haven't done what that is as an average, but 19 divided by 5, just under 4 stars. So not terrible, but I think that's probably about my like average reading month in general. But I did really enjoy this little project. I don't really know what it taught me about myself, but I think it'd be fun if you were interested in reading books that contained your name. I would highly recommend it. And if you made it to this point in the vlog, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you have not already. I make bookish and lifestyle content with a hint of beauty thrown in there. I haven't really made any beauty content in a while, but I'm kind of debating on whether or not to bring it back or not. I don't really know. That's going to be it for me for today's video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!
I should've told you that I loved you one more time.